Planet of the Fakes 4 Couples. And Pig Star HH. News. St. Louis couple explains why they pointed guns at protesters who demanded mayor's resignation. A husband and wife made national news when photos captured them pointing guns at protesters Sunday night outside of their central West End home. It was like the storming of the Bastille. The gate came down and a large crowd of angry, aggressive people poured through, Mark McCloskey said. Quote, St. Louis KMOV.com, a husband and wife made national news when photos captured them pointing guns at protesters Sunday night outside of their central West End home. During the protest, images and videos showed Mark McCloskey, 63, holding a rifle and his wife Patricia McCloskey, 61, pointing a handgun at the crowd of about 300 protesters around 7:30 p.m. The McCloskeys said they were in fear for our lives, and that's why they pulled the guns out. It was like the storming of the Bastille. The gate came down and a large crowd of angry, aggressive people poured through, Mark McCloskey said. I was terrified that we'd be murdered within seconds. Our house would be burned down, our pets would be killed. Mark said they called 911 and grabbed their guns as they heard the crowd approaching their private, gated community on Portland Place. The wrought iron gates of Portland Place were damaged on Sunday. Protesters marched to Lyda Crewson House demanding her resignation. Mark McCloskey. A mob of at least 100 smashed through the historic wrought iron gates of Portland Place, destroying them, rushed towards my home where my family was having dinner outside and put us in fear for our lives, Mark McCloskey said, and shared photos of the destroyed gate. Despite his claims, video circulating on social media shows protesters opening and walking through the unbroken gate. It is unclear when it was actually damaged or who destroyed it. The couple also claims to have received death threats from the crowd. One fellow standing right in front of me pulled out 2 pistol magazines, clicked them together and said, "You're next." That was the first death threat we got that night, Mark McCloskey said. In a separate statement from their attorney, the McCloskeys said they support the Black Lives Matter movement and that peaceful protesters were not the subject of scorn or disdain by the McCloskeys. To the contrary, they were expecting and supportive of the message of the protesters, the statement reads. Additionally, the statement says, both Mr. and Mrs. McCloskey acted lawfully on their property which sits on a private gated lane in the city of St. Louis. Their actions were born solely of fear and apprehension, the genesis of which was not race-related. In fact, the agitators responsible for the trepidation were white. The Black Lives Matters movement is here to stay, it is the right message, and it is about time, said Albert S. Watkins, legal counsel for Mr. and Mrs. McCloskey. The McCloskeys want to make sure no one thinks less of BLM, its message and the means it is employing to get its message out because of the actions of a few white individuals who tarnished a peaceful protest. Rasheed Aldridge helped lead the protest organized by a group called Expect Us. He said protesters were peaceful and no threats were ever made. When asked why the group marched on private property, Aldridge said, just like in many disobedient protests, even in the 60s, you break laws, make people feel uncomfortable. We're not doing anything where we're hurting anyone or putting anyone in danger. Could the McCloskeys be criminally charged? St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner said her office is investigating the incident, adding that protesters should not be met with violence. I am alarmed at the events that occurred over the weekend, where peaceful protesters were met by guns and a violent assault. We must protect the right to peacefully protest, and any attempt to chill it through intimidation or threat of deadly force will not be tolerated, Gardner tweeted. Gardner was also referring to an investigation into protests that happened Saturday on Art Hill in front of the King Louis IX statue. A couple pointed their guns at protesters demanding Mayor Lyda Crewson to resign. Full video link in the description. Like, follow, share, subscribe and comment, hit the bell. And, if you have time, thank you very